Okay, so Dana, you have quorum of both business and overall attendance.
Fantastic. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Before we take any action, though, I need anyone who may have a potential conflict of interest to self-identify at this time. All right. Silence is golden. Thank you. All right, the first piece of business is to the approval of the September 8th minutes, which I believe were in the packet that Tara sent out. So I do need a motion to approve those minutes and a second, please.
This is Michelle Tyson. I'll motion first.
Thank you, Michelle. Can I get a second?
Connie Schnell, I second.
Thank you, Connie. Any discussion or corrections to the minutes before we vote? All right, all those in favor of approving the September 8th minutes, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, fantastic. Thanks so much. All right, so let's move on to the committee status reports. And I'm going to start with Program and Youth. So Jamie, I know you have a lot to report, so I'll give you the floor, sir.
Well, that makes me feel like I'm missing something then, Dana.
No, just some big news.
I know we've talked about the operator and director services provider for some of us a lot, and now we're taking it to the board for the full recommendation. We went through some of you participated in it, we went through the RFP process and evaluated all of the submissions. The committee selected the Brighton Center and then made that recommendation to turn it over to staff to finalize the contract in regards to all of that. And so today we're presenting it to the full board for the recommendation of the committee to move forward with the operator and direct services provider for the Brighton Center. Did I miss something, Dana, since it sounded like there was a lot more than just that?
No, that's it. Because we've been building up to this, and I know this is a very significant action for this board, and so I just wanted to make sure you had an opportunity. And just to tack onto that, so there was a ton of work put into this. So Jamie, I want to thank you and the Program and Youth Committee for all the work that you did. And just a reminder, we sent out the responses to the RFPs to the full board, and you did have an opportunity to participate in the conversation that we had. Only the Program and Youth were allowed to vote, but you all were invited to join. So, and honestly, I was very pleased with the amount of questions that we had and the robust conversation. So I'm extremely comfortable with the decision that was made because we did have a significant amount of questions. So I just wanted to, for those of you that maybe are a bit new, it's a very cumbersome process, and Jamie and his committee handled that extremely well. So I want to, again, Jamie, thank you for your efforts there. So So Jamie, you need a motion, right, to approve, to accept the Program and Youth recommendation for, I don't know, Tara, what we
at this point we need a motion from the board to accept the Program and Youth Committee's recommendation to accept the Brighton Center as the new operator and direct services provider.
Michelle Sesteric, so moved.
Thank you, Michelle. Can I get a second?
Dave Schroeder, I'll second.
Thanks, Dave.
Any discussion?
One second, sorry. Just as a point of clarification, I know the Program and Youth Committee had in their recommendation that the staff would move forward with the final negotiations on the contract side, and I think we may need the full board to have that in your motion as well.
Okay, so I think Michelle was the first to make the motion. Michelle, do you want to amend your motion to add the part about the staff being able to negotiate the final contract with the Brighton Center?
Yes.
Thank you.
Amend my motion.
And I will again second that motion.
Thank you, Dave. Now we're back to any questions and discussion. All right, hearing none, all those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed?
Jamie, this is Alicia. In light of the fact that I was a sub with another entity, I'm going to abstain from voting just to keep everything appropriate.
Yeah, thank you, Alicia. That's the final. So any abstentions? And Alicia's already mentioned her abstention, but any others? All right, the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Jamie. All right, so Dave, we'll move on to you for Business Service Committee update.
Okay, great, thanks. I want to apologize. I'm actually on, but the sunlight is blowing right into my camera. This early start time now is creating havoc with my home office, but I'm here, okay?
You look
Looks
very
like you're in the
mystic,
hookah bar.
like you're in a fog. Yeah, like very mystic.
I don't know who said that about the hookah bar, so I'm
That was
gonna
me.
reserve comment on that.
Yeah, it's usually Jamie Parsons who comments on what we look like on camera.
Thanks. All right, well, we had the BSC meeting and it was a fairly lively meeting. Just a couple of highlights and then I think we have a couple of action items. Is that correct, Tara?
Sorry, yes,
Okay,
that's right.
great. So we talked a little bit about the programming efforts being led by Corey. The employer resource guide was officially made available. I would encourage everybody to look at this. It's online. It's a part of the involvement of the Workforce Partner Roundtable. And it's a great guide for our employers as a resource. A lot of conversation about that. And even as far as yesterday, in the roundtable meeting and recap, there's a lot of good suggestions and kaizens. So I would encourage everybody to look at that. As far as the action items, we're going through a certification process for the access points. And that certification is a process that needs to take part as part of the WIOA requirements and the state requirements. And our career centers are categorized into three types. One is a comprehensive center. So in Northern Kentucky, we have one comprehensive center, which is the Covington location. We have a number of partners involved there, and they provide a number of different products and services at that location. There are also certifications and categorizations as far as affiliate sites. And that means that at the location, there would be at least one partner in place in addition to the WIOA staff. And then finally, there's a categorization called access points. An access point would have materials online and only one partner organization for staff online most of the time. Perhaps WIOA members visit on a less than regular or frequent basis. So with Corey heading a process to certify our existing access points, we have a motion in front of us to approve two of them. I'm going to do each one separately. The first one is the Kenton Library branch, or Kenton Library, the Erlanger branch. Sorry, Dave. And that was under consideration as access point. The library went through a certification review, and the facility met the requirements on the check sheet. So before I ask for a motion, Corey, do you want to go through any of the certification activity that you did at the library and point out anything that was remarkable or that you want to talk about?
I don't think there's a lot to say on this, Dave, but I will just say that the Kenton County Library in particular has been doing a lot in the space of workforce for some time, as we all know. So I would say that, frankly, certifying them as a Kentucky Career Center access point is a little bit overdue. But they clearly met in the opinion of myself, and I believe the review team that participated in the site visit, they clearly met all of the criteria to qualify as an access point. And as Tara just mentioned in the chat, a more detailed breakdown, along with, I believe, a letter is in your materials. So.
Okay. Also, we're also separately going to ask about the CVG location. So Corey, any comments about that while I've got you online?
Sure. CVG is a little bit different animal because we owe our Brighton Center staff on site full time at that location, but we are the only WIO partner on site, and so which justifies certifying as an access point as opposed to an affiliate site. But of course, we've been in operation there for over a year and a half now, and we've seen great numbers from serving those roughly 70 employers that are part of the CVG airport. So again, this in my mind seems to be a very logical step to make them a certified access point.
Okay, thanks a lot. So at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to certify the Kenton County Library Erlanger branch as an access point. Can I hear a motion, please?
So moved. Carissa.
Okay. All right, thank you.
John Vance.
Second, please.
I'll second. Vicky Burley.
Okay, thanks. All right, put it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay,
I will abstain, David.
of course. Thank you. Appreciate that, Dave. A second motion to certify the CVG Career Center as an access point. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. John Baines.
Okay. Second, please.
Second, Randy Pope.
Thank you, Randy. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you. And as just a final report out, we're continuing our conversation with the BSC and then now with the roundtable as far as trying to understand the certification process to get our in-demand credentials noted and held with confidence by the KDE. I know that there's a lot of work that's being done by several groups about this regionally. So the idea that the BSC is leaning toward right now is just ensuring that we have a solid and proactive and productive process to get in-demand credentials added to the KDE and state approved list. So more on that. We have a meeting December 9th. Talk about that in more detail. Anybody that is interested in participating and have a question, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Tara, and we'll bring you up to speed and move forward. Dana, that's all I have. Thanks.
Hey, Dave, thank you so much for your work, and Corey for your help with that. Appreciate that so much.
Mhm.
And Dave Schroeder, thank you as always for your partnership throughout this whole thing, actually. So it's fitting that we've kind of made it official, I guess.
Our pleasure.
Okay, so moving on to MBO report. John, you have the floor.
Thank you, Dana. So as we're 13 minutes early, I thought I would just tell a really long story.
I know we're doing well on
about,
time.
No, MBO really a lot of what seems like small, but some significant work happening right now, mainly in making sure that our bylaws are supportive of the mission, eliminating where we have lack of clarity or in some cases language that's confusing. So nothing specific to report there. I would just say that we continue to see where there's a mismatch between what the documents say how we should operate and sort of our understanding of how we've been operating and how we want to operate. So the good news is that we are sort of step by step cleaning that up and making that simple yet effective. A couple examples of that would be sort of the behaviors of how we have nominated people to the board and when their term starts. We had been putting that, for whatever reason, in line with the fiscal year of the board itself to help us not have people all sort of roll off at the same time and make backfilling positions a challenge. We are going to adopt it based on when they join the board as a member for the first time. So that will help us space some things out. We also had some clever solutions on how to sort of resolve people who whose terms have expired. So as many of you know, this is a 2-year appointment to the board with the options for 2 additional 2-year terms. So a total of 6 years before you opt out. As you'll see shortly with Carissa, when we are reappointed, that clock starts over again. So we basically have just been trying to find good solutions to problems that really are not fundamentally a problem here, while at the same time making sure that the board operates in a way that is encouraging new energy from new members and sort of preventing it from being, you know, held by the power of a select few that have carved out a long-standing presence on the board itself. So that's kind of what the work of the committee has been so far. Luckily, anything that we thought maybe was a fire really has just been sort of light smoke that we've been able to take care of immediately. 2 actions for the board today. The first one, well, 1 action for the board today and another reason to enjoy ourselves. So the first is the re-nomination of Dr. Carissa Schutzman, who is looking to rejoin the board under a new employer. So members are actually not just the person, but the person and organization. So hence the reapplication for Carissa. Her nomination form is in your packet, but I'm sure most of you know Carissa really well, so no introduction really is needed there, hopefully. So for that, I would like a nomination or a motion to approve Carissa for nomination to the board.
I would like to move. This is Fernando.
Thank you, Dr. Figueroa. A second, please.
Second, Shannon.
Thank you, Shannon. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Any opposed? With that, motion passes. Welcome back, Carissa, under the new designation, new flag.
Thank you. Tara, I'll expect the usual new member perks, including the Mercedes.
I think that's a parking space, so congratulations.
Actually, I think it's a die-cast model of a Mercedes.
Those are on back order for a long time though, too, so.
It's been upgraded to a Ferrari.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Thank
You
you.
also get to attend the new member orientation again.
Oh,
Yeah. Bonus.
And last
twice
from
as-
the MBO side is our member spotlight, Dave Schroeder, who I feel like was supposed to do this maybe a decade ago. I don't know how long time has passed since we talked about this, but here we are, and here's
I kept
Dave.
dodging it.
So, floor is yours, Dave.
Okay. David's pulling up my little screenshot here. I'm Dave Schroeder. You can go on to the next one. Thank you. I am a proud Ludlow native, so you'll see I love Mount Echo Park because not only do you get to see Cincinnati, but you also get to see Ludlow. So Carissa will be happy because I am from her former employer and her new employer. So graduated from Thomas More with a BA in history and UC with an MA in history. And I finished that program and I thought, well, what am I going to do with an MA? It's either a PhD or something else. So went on to UK and earned my master's in library science. So you can go to the next one, please. Started working at the Kenton County Public Library my senior year in high school. And look at that hair. But I will say, at least it's not a mullet. You know, it was during that time period. Started as my senior year at KCPL as a shelver and worked my way up into the local history department. I was there for 10 years when I was going through high school, college, graduate school. left for 4 years and worked as archivist for Thomas More in the diocese. And then I came back in 2000 to the library. From 2000 to 2007, I was the local history and genealogy librarian. And from 2007 to the present, I have been executive director. Some of the things that have happened since I've been director, we've been nationally ranked for the first time about 7 years ago. Last year we were 12th in the country in our category. There are 6 categories across the country. We're in the 2nd category and we were ranked 12th in the country. And in the southeastern United States, we were only among 20 that were ranked. So we're very proud of our Kenton County Library system. We began an extensive workforce development program, which is why I'm sitting here today. And I get to work with you great people. So that's been great. We've had a lot of success with that. We completed a new branch in Nicholson, just south of Independence. Completely expanded and remodeled the Covington Library. Did addition to the Erlanger branch, including the Stream Center, which is our STEM center. And we built the Administration Center, which I'm sitting in. So been a busy last 13 years, but a fun 13 years. Love history and genealogy. And that's really what got me involved in history and in libraries. That is my great-grandparents in the photo. The little girl on the far left is my grandmother. So that is Henry Rademacher and his wife, Mary Remke. Her brother started the food store chain. And then that is the first 4 of their 8 children, my grandmother being Marie on the far left. So always been fascinated with family history and local history. I've traced one line back to the 1600s and probably 5 or 6 back to the 1700s. I have the most boring family tree in the world. I am 100% German. And when DNA came along, I took the DNA test, like, give me some Italian, give me some Irish, give me something. And it came back 100% German. So at least I know my actual research on paper is accurate. And I do have a really great story though that I give occasionally at conferences, et cetera, to talk about how to use genealogy records. And it's based on a true family story. It's my great uncle. And it's entitled, He Went to Buy the Thanksgiving Turkey and He Never Came Home. It is a true story. I will not give you the ending because you have to come and watch one of my sessions, but he actually did go to buy the Thanksgiving turkey. He was last seen on the suspension bridge in 1932 and never seen again. So yes, interesting story. And I use a lot of resources to prove and come to a conclusion of what I think happened to him.
Oh my, when are you doing this presentation next?
I don't know. I don't have one scheduled. Somebody needs to come up with you all need to come up with some sort of thing that I need to present at. Okay, you can go to the next one. Thanks. I've written a lot of local history materials. I love to write. And so written a number of books and edited a number of books, which is always fun. Worked with a lot of great people over the years on those projects. And I do the history column in the Northern Kentucky Magazine, which is always interesting and fun. So you can go to the next one, please. And last but not least, I love to travel. So I usually do one trip abroad every year. I was supposed to go to Spain and Portugal in October, and you know that didn't happen. So we'll see. But I've been to North America, South America, China, or Asia twice, and Europe. So got to get to Africa and Australia. But love to travel, love to learn about new cultures and the history of those places, and just to get and meet new people. So one of my favorite trips was to China. And last year I got to go to Petra, which was great. Been to the Wailing Wall, done a lot of fun, interesting things. So that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dave.
Dave, I love all the pictures.
Oh, thank you. I have learned over the years giving presentations that people don't really want to listen to you talk too much. They love pictures though. So I add lots of photos to my presentations. People love photos.
Awesome. All right, thank you. John, anything else from your group, or are you good? Okay.
Oh, that's it from the MBO side. Thanks, Dave, for the presentation and the look back in time.
You're welcome.
Awesome, thank you.
Do we want to have? Well, do we want to have Dave pick another person? Do we?
Oh, yep, yep.
The dreaded choice. Who hasn't done it already? Somebody's looking at me with suspicious eyes, and she just turned her head.
Did Tara do one?
And she just gave me a look, and now she's smiling. It's my Ludlow compatriot. Vicky, have you done it yet?
No, Dave, I haven't. So I can show, I'll borrow your same pictures.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. I'll do it.
Okay. Thank you.
So that
Vicky and I have known each other forever.
So that will be for the next meeting, which is, remind me, Tara, not till January, right?
January.
So you got plenty of time, Vicky.
You got time, Vicky. All right. Thank you. Okay, just really quickly, before we move on to the programming updates, I just want to talk a little briefly about some things that came out of the executive committee. John alluded to a lot of this. So slate of officers, and they've been doing a lot of work on some nominations and bylaws in particular. I just wanted to put in a plug though, if anyone has an interest in serving in a leadership role, like the executive committee, let John know. We're trying to kind of fill that slate of officers, and so it's a great group. It continues to be a great group as this one is. So if you have an interest in doing that, let John Baines know, please. And then the second thing, I know we've been talking about this all year, and we've been kind of put on hold a little bit with our plans for the strategic plan. We have this fabulous idea. We're going to get together and we're going to just knock this thing out in a room. And obviously we didn't get to do that. So we are going to be doing that, and we're going to start really digging into that, I think, in our January meeting. I'm looking at Tara for confirmation of that. But I'd really like I'd really like some folks from the board to work with the executive committee on that. So if you are interested in doing that, let Tara know, let me know, and we will we'll start. As it gets closer to that time, we'll start sending out some information, some meeting requests and things like that to really get that kicked off. We probably need to brainstorm a little bit about the approach we're going to take with that. Some of that's going to depend on if we're still virtual at that point or not. I'm assuming we probably will be, but so anyway, there's some logistical things that we have to work out, but the more people we can have to join in that conversation, the better. So, please let us know if you have an interest in participating along with the executive committee on the strategic plan. We'll ultimately, per our bylaws, whatever the executive committee, whatever this team comes up with or talks through will come before this board ultimately. So everybody on the board will have an opportunity to hear and to opine on that. But I just, the working group is going to be really important to get through the strategic plan. So okay. Thank you. I think those are my 2 items. And then I'm going to turn it over to Tara to do her director's report.
Great, and I'm already getting messages for people that want to get involved, Dana. So thank you to those of you that have responded in the chat. Appreciate that. I have just a couple of updates that I want to provide, and a lot of it is just going to be turning toward the second attachment that you had in your board handout, just to let you know that the Career Center staff, really led by Ellen in this case, put together a fantastic overview, a WIOA annual report from last fiscal year. So July 1st of 2019 to June 30th of 2020. And it really highlights each one of our WIOA areas, as well as the response for each of those. So like adult and dislocated worker, and also youth, rapid response, and trade, and how the COVID response has, been a part of that work. And so I just would encourage you, if you haven't had a chance to look at that please do. It really, Ellen and her team did a really great job of pulling all of that together. And so I just want to say publicly thank you to her for doing that. And I think it really does capture a lot of the things that have been going on. Obviously, Ellen and Corey are still going to do their update today, but I just wanted to let you all know about that. The other thing I wanted to, and I know Corey will touch on this a little bit, but I've been working really closely with him on the conversation about in-person services at the Career Center. I know you got a few emails from me probably about a week and a half ago now about, hey, we're going to do some in-person things, and then COVID, of course, took a different turn, and that's okay. We obviously would have preferred something different, but we did end up having some coverage about the services that the Career Centers do provide on Channel 9, which I think was positive. And then the other thing is that so there are staff members now available. They've been triaging in the parking lot. And so I know Corey's going to go over the numbers, but we're watching the weather clearly and kind of watching all of that. But we have been really pleased with the fact that, first of all, no one was flooded with unemployment insurance clients who are, we know that that's such a really trying situation. But I know Connie's on the call, and if anybody had any questions, I'm sure Connie could get into that. But we really wanted to focus and readjust the narrative to be able to say, from a WIOA standpoint, here are the services that we could offer to clients. And so even though we want to get the resource rooms open, because we know that not everyone's able to take advantage of those virtual services, we do direct them to the libraries. Dave, at the moment, if somebody needs, also, we're working on Wi-Fi in parking lots, especially in Covington. The Covington location was chosen as part of the Covington Connect program. But we really wanted to adjust the narrative and say, we are able to provide career services, right? And even though we know that unemployment insurance continues to be a challenge, here's how we can help people get back into the workforce. And so I think that narrative was heard, which is exciting. That's what we were hoping that we could get across. And I think that has been so far successful. And for those people that, need UI help, at least to be able to say, here's the National Dislocated Worker Grant. If you need a bridge, job while you're waiting for your job to, hire you back, or here's, some of the virtual services offered throughout our community. So I just wanted to kind of say that and just let everybody know that that's how we're really trying to frame the messaging at the moment. There are a lot of job openings, and you'll see that in David's KPI report. I'm going to move on with those key KPI indicators, unless anybody had any questions for me. And I will just say briefly that I've been working on kind of a calendar year end At the end of December, it'll mark 1 year for me to be director, and what a year it has been. So I am planning, just for you all to know, like kind of a highlights about, you know, things that have happened, partnerships that we've been able to strengthen, outreach that we've been able to do. And it really has been a huge pleasure for me. We won't meet again as a whole group until January, but I'll try to get that out to you guys next month. But thank you, you know, again, for the opportunity to serve in this way. And there has been, despite some of the major challenges with the world this year, I really do think that the WIB and the KCC, you know, continue to work with all of our partners across the region. So very pleased with how the team has been able to achieve all that. So, and let's see, I think Dana said she's got to step away for just a second. So, hey, David Klockner, can you pull up the fiscal KPI, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, great. And I'm pretty sure that Liberty is here with us. Yes, she is. So if anyone has questions, Liberty, do you want to kind of walk everybody through what they're looking at here?
Yes, good morning. Just briefly, the report that we're looking at today is as of September 30th, 2020, which is 25% of the fiscal year. And on the left, we have our actual carryover from FY20. We still have projected numbers as we've not received our October allocations just yet, but I hear that they are coming soon. So we're keeping our fingers crossed for that. And then in the if you look at the bottom right of the report, those are our expenditures as of September 30th, 2020. And there's not a lot out of the ordinary. We're a little bit on the low side as far as the expenditures go, just because of largely because of COVID. But outside of that, it's pretty normal. Did anyone have any questions?
Okay, well, that's great. If you ever do have any questions about this, these financials are also in your handout. So feel free to contact me anytime, you know, if anything comes up that you end up having questions about. All right, David, do you want to move ahead with the programmatic KPI?
Okay.
Awesome.
So this is the KPI that's in the packet and that the Business Service Committee approved at their last meeting. And like what Liberty said, this is through September, so it's first quarter, it's the first 25% of the fiscal year. I want to point out at the top here, this is one of, I think, 4 times in the year where the KPI schedule does not line up with KY Stats release of unemployment numbers. So this being a September KPI, it still shows the August unemployment numbers. I have another slide I'll pull up in a second with more recent ones. And so that being said, I want to kind of focus on the job postings. And let me back up real quick. So starting next quarter, we're going to go back to the model of this as the front page of the KPI. And then we're going to have the 3-page analytical KPIs that we did last year. So we can look at year over year, month over month, quarter over quarter numbers. But so you're gonna have to take me at my word when I say that job postings are actually exceeding what they were this time last year, partially because of COVID, because we had such a dip and a spike in employment and unemployment. And like I said, I want to focus on this middle part a little bit more because this is the most current part. And it shows that the business service team out of the Career Center is very much on point, even through COVID, that we've exceeded our places last year for all the sectors except for construction and IT. Construction and trades is always kind of iffy because a lot of construction and trade jobs are word of mouth. So it's harder for us to analyze those. The next quarter KPI will have the fabled appendix for the basic career services, where we're going to show the breakdown of virtual services, in the door services, how we're dealing with the COVID situation. Career services, eligibility, internships, they're all on par at the same time last year. The outcomes for WIOA participants, that's updated quarterly. So this being the first quarter of the fiscal year, that's still reflecting FY20's year end. And on the slide I'm going to show in a minute, we have the first quarter numbers for this year. Interviews, job placements are very much on par for where they kind of should be this time of year. And I'm going to say it again, that's the hard work going on at the Career Center. They just had to shift gears and make it more virtual. Customer satisfaction, the job seeker and the employer numbers are looking good. We think we went down a 0.2% in the job seeker, but went up a 0.5% in the employer. And some of that, again, is just because of the shifting nature of the job seekers in the markets. This is the slide I wanted to pull up, though, because this is now the September labor market info, labor participation rate, and the first quarter FY21 goals. You can see that unemployment is down in the North Kentucky area. The labor participation rate went down slightly from the last month, but that's also because we took a hit in our labor force, which then gives us a hit in our employment numbers. We have to keep in mind that the unemployment rate is only counting people who are actively looking for work. So it's a bit of a questionable number sometimes as to what the true unemployment situation is in the area. But overall, I think we are kind of faring better through COVID than other parts of the state and the country. Our labor participation rate is okay. Kentucky as a state is normally lower than the country, but North Kentucky is usually one of the highest parts of the state. If you want to look at our FY21 first quarter outcomes, we have exceeded almost every goal across the board. These are rates that are negotiated with the state and the local board. Youth numbers, we know that youths are entering employment, retaining employment, and getting credentials, but due to the ongoing reporting issues with Key Suite, we just cannot extract reliable numbers. And we know that our direct service provider and contractors, Brighton Center, they keep excellent records. So
yeah, we chose to present this as it would. This is how it would be tracked for our performance with regards to our arrangements with the state. And I don't know if Dana's back, but Dana and I think we sent this out to maybe the Program and Youth Committee, but just as a reminder, we did receive a waiver from the state that because of Key Suite's ongoing inaccuracies, that while we will definitely continue to aim for the highest level of service provision, they actually are going to be holding us harmless for any goals not met as a result of Key Suite not reporting properly. So basically we're sending them all the youth information, but it's not coming back out. They are working, as we've been reporting for the last 2 years, on fixing that particular issue at the moment. And so hopefully within the next month or so, we'll be able to show you, the official stats of where we stand with youth at that time.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's a good point, Tara. This is what it would look like if the state were to produce this part of the report.
Right.
Yeah. So thanks, Tara. So I'm just curious, and Dave, thanks for this. But I think we could, if we can we, outside of Key Suite, can we maybe for our next meeting show the actual performance of the youth, that, because I know, to your point, Dave, I know Brighton Center keeps very copious records. So I think, I know I would, and probably others on this call would like to see what our actual results are, not what Key Suite is saying our results are. So is it possible to actually do that for our January meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't want to get a little pedantic, but so we can't, if it comes from Brighton Center's workbooks, those are not going to ever be actual results because the actual results come out of the state system of record, which is Key Suite. So
but
this
we
slide shows technically what the actual results are.
But we could show them.
Understand, but I think we know what our, I'm going to say, actual results are.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
do you know what I mean? So I think it would be good for this group to know what kind of progress we're making
Yes.
in reality.
We
Yeah,
can
and I don't
absolutely.
disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. I just, for the board and for the minutes, I just want it to be stated that
Yeah, for sure.
the system of record and the contractor's workbooks.
Understand.
David, maybe
can do-
David, the way to do it would be to just do a second sheet that gives Brighton Center's numbers so that the one
Yeah.
sheet is the state sheet and the second sheet is what we really know.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all.
Great.
Thank you.
And then like Liberty said, if anybody has any questions, you can always reach out to me or reach out to Tara and she can get in touch with me.
Thank you.
Joe, did you have your development report? No? Okay. We can just do it verbally. I can do it verbally.
I'm sorry, you made it sound like you were going to do it.
Yeah. Okay. I did just want to let everyone on the board know that, and we actually got final notice of this yesterday. So sorry we don't have it written down yet, but got an email that the WIB and the KCC will be a part of a new grant that was received by St. Elizabeth. It's from SAMHSA. It's the Federal Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. St. Elizabeth is through the Journey Recovery Center received this grant that really is aimed at tying those individuals with substance abuse disorder who are in recovery to the workforce community so that we can make sure that they are really succeeding in their recovery because they've got that job, they've got that support system. And so Tony Sloan on our team will be leading up the connectivity and being the liaison. Life Learning Center is another critical partner in this work. And of course, everything that Alicia has been doing with the Kenton County Justice Center and all of the work that she's been doing, we will just be supporting as a liaison with the Career Center. So we're a small part of the grant, but we're excited to be included. And I think that it's really, critical for our community to just make sure that we get this right. And so basically there'll be like no wrong door. So wherever somebody's coming from, whatever organization, whether it's the justice system or whether it's the recovery system or whether it's workforce, those individuals will get the support that they need. So the other thing that we just wanted to kind of wrap a bow around and say that we're finished with as a team is you've heard over the last, 7 years, I guess, about the capital campaign related to the Covington Career Center and the fundraising that was required to support those partners when they moved from the former building to the nice new beautiful building on Madison. It was a lot more expensive from a lease standpoint. So for those of you that are relatively new, that lease was supported or subsidized by some fundraising that the WIB staff had been doing over time, and the KCC was probably involved in that as well, but that was before my time. When I started, there was a little bit of fundraising that was left to do, just as you kind of look at the, you think of like the United Way sort of, thermometer and, kind of thinking through like, okay, we're almost there. Well, we actually did a full review of all the finances of all of the partners that over time had actually kind of let us know they didn't need the subsidy anymore, that they'd been able to just pay the market rate. And so I am extremely pleased to report that after reviewing all those finances and really looking at what was required, our obligation would complete in December, so next month. And we are going to be able to both meet our obligations and also not require any more additional fundraising. We actually had put a cushion in there, and so we are finished. So I am very, very happy to let you all know that that is moved on, and we can then focus our fundraising efforts on new ways to serve our community and workforce. So if anybody has any questions about either of those, please let us know.
Great job, Tara, Katie, Joe, and team. Great job on that.
Cool. I think it's time for Corey and Ellen.
Okay, I guess I can go first. Tara already talked some about the restoring of in-person services. We have 1 week and 1 day under our belt, and I think I can speak for everyone when I say we're pleasantly surprised. We didn't know what we were getting into. We're the first in the state to restore in-person services, albeit on a limited basis because of the high COVID numbers. But numbers for our first week were good. I mean, we served a total of 334 individuals. Approximately 2/3 of those individuals were callers, so via phone. We had only 51 walk-ups between our Covington and Florence location. And I say only because we really didn't know what to expect. We didn't know if we were going to show up last Monday morning and the parking lot be flooded, which is the very reason we set up a triage outside to keep everybody safe. But what we found was, by and large, people were coming to us one at a time. It was very manageable. The community has been exceptionally patient, understanding. I think the fear across the state was that with the extremely high unemployment numbers, that we would be dealing with some angry individuals and some in large numbers. And we just haven't seen that in Northern Kentucky. Of the 334 individuals that we served, the very high majority have been very patient and understanding, and just frankly happy to have someone to talk to listen to their concern, as opposed to just continually getting a voice message when they try to call the unemployment number. I can honestly say on single digits in terms of instances where we've had angry people where they're cussing at us and stuff like that, but 100% of those 5 to 7 cases have been over the phone. We all know it's a little easier over the phone to be angry with somebody than to look them in the eye. But we've been, we're focusing heavily on customer service, even in the cases of unemployment customers. We've been very prescribed in our response, in that, we can't really do much for them here locally, but we are listening to their concerns and getting them down the right pathway to get their concern addressed. What we've really been focused on, our main goal is to get job seekers connected to employers. We know a lot of employers are hiring right now. And so of that 334 served, 51, or roughly 15% of those were job seekers, that's not unexpected. We knew that the majority of folks coming to us were going to have concerns related to unemployment. So these are 51 individuals just during our first week that I'm confident we would not have otherwise reached had we not, taken the step of reintroducing in-person services. And so I'm happy about where we're at. We're going to continue on. And any of you, if you're curious or have more questions or want more specific information, I'm glad to talk with you offline. And then the one other update, Dave kind of talked about some of the employer services we're doing with the Employee Resource Guide. Also wanted to mention the Carrollton Career Center, the Kentucky Career Center in Carrollton. Good news on that front. You've heard me report in the past that location was, it was a little iffy. I'll say, because of the occupancy expenses and the budget constraints. But thank you to the Carrollton Community Development Corporation, who generously contributed $5,000 to help supplement our occupancy costs in Carrollton, which is going to enable us to stay where we're at least through fiscal year 21 and hopefully beyond. But I just wanted to let everyone know on this board that we will be staying put at our current location in Carrollton. Again, thanks to the Carrollton Community Development Corporation. I think that's all. Thanks.
Hey, Corey.
Yeah.
This is Carissa. I have a quick question. Are the staff feeling okay about being face-to-face? What can we do as a board to express our appreciation for the sacrifices that they're making to be in person with folks?
You know, I think by and large, everybody is comfortable, Carissa. I mean, you know, we have all of the necessary safety precautions in place, like the sneeze guard up. Everybody, we're doubling up the tables, you know, so to ensure social distancing. We actually, starting this week, moved things inside. I had mentioned the outdoor triage. Because of the numbers being low and the fact that we're mainly seeing folks one at a time walk up, we felt comfortable moving that inside. And so everyone who comes in already has a mask on. And with doubling up the tables and having the sneeze guards in place, I think that it seems to me that everyone feels comfortable in terms of their health and safety. And, you know, with the lower numbers, I don't feel like anybody's anxious about being overwhelmed in that regard either. I will say thank you to, it's really been a team effort, because Brighton Center and Area Development District Center staff have really, you know, taken an all hands on deck approach, and we've all kind of divvied up handling the in the door, you know, walk up customers as well as the phones. And so, and Goodwill, I don't want to leave Goodwill out. They've also assisted with that too. So it's really not fallen on any one person or any one partner's shoulders, I should say. It's really been a team effort.
Great. That's wonderful to hear. And gosh, I just appreciate so much that y'all are able to do it.
Thanks.
Awesome. Well, I will take it away with direct workforce services if there aren't any other questions. And Carissa, I agree. Really our staff's been awesome in wanting to get back into the building, and all hands on deck approach. You know, it's always a little anxious when you're starting something new and being flexible, but everyone's been really great with just kind of going with the flow as we make adjustments at the last minute to keep that health and safety in mind for everybody. So I don't have a PowerPoint this time like as have in the past. So everything is on a handout that's in your packet. So I'll just kind of speak to some of the highlights that are on that. The National Dislocated Worker Grant was the funding that we received, the WIB received, and Brighton Center is providing the eligibility services for that. It's connected with obviously part of WIOA, and so wanted to provide an update on that. Is that we have registered 11 customers into that program. We definitely are excited about being able to meet customers coming into the Career Center now, and hopeful that will help us to enroll some more customers into this program. One of the challenges that we've seen in this virtual world is really how do we meet customers in that two-way kind of interaction. We've been really pushing for the Facebook Lives and our social media to get our services out there, which has been successful, but we really need to it's getting us to that point where then we're having that two-way interaction and customers are reaching back out to us. And so we've been seeing some traction in that which is exciting. So we've registered 11 customers to date, and actually in the packet has 4 job placements with some of our local nonprofits, and happy to report that since this was created, it's now 6 job placements in our local with our local nonprofits. And so you know, getting the ball rolling on that. And Brad Dansbury is our eligibility specialist, and he's really been hitting the ground running and really tracking down all of the leads and things like that. So if there are any customers, you know, that you are aware of who have been impacted, you know, please don't hesitate to send them our way. We're definitely still rocking and rolling with that. And then in terms of kind of, you know, transitioning back into in-person services, one of the things that we have resumed is our Kentucky Essential Skills Certificate. Some of you may remember that this is the certificate at the state level that really looks at career readiness, and it focuses in some 4 kind of key modules looking at communication and teamwork and, you know, all of the time management, all of those types of things to really get, you know, those things that we hear from employers. Hey, I can teach somebody how to operate the machinery. I can teach somebody how to do the database, but I really need someone who has these key skills, these key success skills. And so we had great success with the Kentucky Essential Skills Certificate prior to COVID. We were leading the state in the number of certificates that had, you know, Northern Kentucky was leading the state in the number of certificates that had been achieved by our customers. So we're really excited to have been able to bring that back. One of the things that we couldn't necessarily do that in an entirely virtual format because there is an assessment process, a testing process at the end of that for individuals to actually test and earn that certificate. They have to, you know, answer so many questions correctly, and that has to happen in a facilitated space. So we were able to bring that back with our Trades to Success cohort and with the GLASS class through the Northern Kentucky Community Action Commission. So we had 80% success rate with Trades to Success and 100% success rate with the GLASS class cohort that just did the Kentucky Essential Skills Certificate. So we were able to transition kind of the facilitated workshop piece into a virtual format, and then just bringing people in for the testing piece in person, but of course socially distanced. And so that allowed us to limit that and modify that to make sure that you know, we were maintaining all of the social distancing that was needed. And then, of course, as you heard David talk about, you know, the hiring and job placements are definitely ramping up. It is, you know, we had some great conversation in the Business Services Committee last month about, you know, the industries in which that's happening and you know, what types of jobs that those are providing for individuals and where the demand is. So as our, you know, job seekers coming in and what kind of jobs they're looking for, is that matching up with what is, you know, the jobs that are available within our region. And so I think that is really interesting. You know, we know that the situation we're in, some industries are really in need of people, you know, logistics, transportation, obviously really in need of people, and other industries are seeing, you know, a downturn. And so it's a unique situation where we have a lot of hiring in some places and then not as much hiring in other places. So with that being said, though, we have had several hiring events. We're ramping up with those virtual and drive-through and scheduled interviews. You know, we had a drive-through hiring event with Aris Tech Surfaces last month, and they made 11 job offers from that event. And then we also did a drive-through hiring event with Campbell County Detention Center, and they made 10 job offers from that event. And so we are excited to see those types of numbers with kind of on-the-spot job offers at these events. And I think that's really indicative of, you know, some of the employers are really feeling the hiring needs right now. And then, of course, we had our healthcare career fair, virtual format in September, and we had 15 regional employers attend that, and we had 60 attendees. And so we were able to get some, you know, great candidates for those employers. And looking forward to our advanced manufacturing job fair in November, or we're already in November this month, on November 18th. And so looking forward to that on November 18th and kind of moving forward with the sector specific job fairs to really help those industries that we know are hiring right now. And then lastly, kind of some youth focused workshops that we've been doing. You know, our youth team, we had some conversation about that with the KPIs. We do know that our youth are getting placed, and we're working hard with that, and happy to make sure that we provide the kind of real-time data that we can pull at the next meeting. But have been doing some youth-focused workshops with resume workshops, SMART goals workshops with Brighton Recovery Center, and then doing our WIOA information session in the City Futures up in the City Heights community to really engage with those opportunity youth in that community and help them get connected to the workforce and the special needs that are there with that community. So we've been able to serve over 50 youth through those workshops this past quarter, and I'm excited about that opportunity. I think that's.
Thank you, Ellen and Corey. Thank you for your partnership and your work and your steadfastness in this COVID era, and for all the partners also at the One Stop. I mean, truly, when we years and years and years ago, when we first talked about creating this what was then called the One Stop, you know, the concept was so simplistically brilliant. Everybody working in partnership, and it's truly what's happening today. I know we've gone through some name changes and things, but it continues to amaze me in how tumultuous times people just tend to band together, and this is truly an example of that. So Corey and Ellen, thank you again so much for your work and your leadership with that. Okay, so I think we have a final item, and it's really a discussion, and I think Tara is going to facilitate this, and it's really about the state of hiring in Northern Kentucky. So Tara, take it away.
Yes. Okay. So we're going to try something new today. So bear with us. You know, I think between the data that David provided, and then Ellen did a great job really summarizing the hiring situation that at least we're seeing, right, through the Career Center and the employers that the team is working with. You know, as you can probably tell, I think the team is open to doing really anything that would work for local employers in terms of helping them connect with job seekers. We're absolutely also working as hard as we can with job seekers to make sure that they're prepared for those jobs, whether that's workshops, right? So many of the things that the library and other partners do, the Northern Kentucky Accountability Group, you know, as well, but also just all the things that are virtually available, like on Facebook and so forth from the career coaching side. But I think we're still really feeling that this is just such a unique environment, right? With some employers still either struggling or letting people go, doing layoffs, while we have other employers who are just really so actively looking for enough talent to do the work that they need to do. And meanwhile, I've been hearing from many of you that you would like more opportunities to talk with your fellow board members about what's going on, right? We don't have that like after the meeting milling about that we used to have. And so we worked really hard to shorten our content enough. We wanted to have good content for you guys during the meeting, but we wanted to get finished a little bit early to try to provide that opportunity for you all to chat. But, you know, we didn't want it to be a free-for-all because conversations in Zoom can be a little crazy. So we decided to marry these two conversations to say, how about our board members having a chance to weigh in on what you're seeing around hiring? What are you experiencing in your own companies, maybe other committees on which you serve? Many of you are so engaged in the community. So what I was thinking, definitely anybody can feel free to sort of just speak up, but sometimes some of us are not as, you know, maybe we don't have the ability to project our voices quite as well. So if you have something that you want to say and you're having trouble making your way into the conversation, there is a feature in Zoom, if you go to more, where you can raise your hand. Let's see. And now I'm not seeing it, but there definitely is a way to raise your hand, or you can type something in the chat and I'll monitor that. So if somebody, you know, wants a chance to say something and you feel like you don't want to just like yell, I'll go ahead and, you know, kind of call on people as well. So I have had quite a bit of conversation about this with Michelle Sesteric. So I'm going to call on Michelle to kind of go first. So thank you, Michelle, for stepping up in this way. And then I just really, I think it would be so helpful to the staff, and hopefully it's helpful to you as well, to just kind of see what everybody's feeling right now around hiring. Michelle.
Yeah, thanks, Tara. So, you know, I live in the world of hiring, right? That's what I do for a living. And what we're experiencing out there is definitely on the supply and demand, right? Lots and lots of jobs. Staff Mark just in this region between Cincinnati and Kentucky has over 900 open jobs. Now, what's really interesting is that the pay rates are now a lot more competitive than they used to be. My average pay rate on the temp side a couple of years ago was like $12.85. It is now averaging almost $15 an hour. I am seeing ranges between 14 and 16 for my unskilled, or what we would call light industrial type positions. We have some of the premier customers that are actually getting up into the $17, $18 an hour in order to be more competitive. So what we're seeing is, you know, that positive impact on pay. Some employers are calling it pandemic pay, and I think they have hopes to go backwards once things settle down. But we're constantly having conversations with them to educate them to say, you will have a mass exodus if you go backwards in pay. So I think there'll be a couple of companies that might try to, you know, again, readjust. But I really do think that again, the needle is moved on that entry level pay across our area. And we're constantly having conversations and educating customers. The other thing that I just think is really interesting is when I go back and look at Dave's numbers. And again, I respect that, you know, the data comes from a lot of different places and it's measured differently. But it's kind of funny how, you know, the participation rate and the unemployment rates really don't mirror what we're seeing, you know, in actuality, in real life, what the employers are doing. I've got direct hire positions for 3 of my companies. They're paying $18 an hour. You would go straight onto their payroll and you would think I'd be knocking these out, and we are struggling. We see a lot of, I'll call them false applications. So Staff Mark, we do, you know, again, remote and online applications. And we have noticed, statistically speaking, the number of applications that don't get completed have actually increased as well. So, you know, we've got some folks that are going through the process because they were required in order to keep their benefits. But really the story that I tell the most when customers say, what is going on? I say, you know, think about it. When the bottom fell out in March and everybody had to figure out their new normal, that new normal for a lot of people meant one parent staying home or one parent being able to make ends meet off of whatever assistance they were able to get their hands off. So they're not actively participating and looking for work. They figured out their new normal, and this is where people are living right now. And I don't know that we're going to see a significant change. And of course, Q4 in our area is significantly, traditionally, we have 15 to 20,000 seasonal jobs in our market anyway. And we all know that internet distribution has gone nowhere. So yeah, I've thrown out 1,000 things that I'm seeing right now, but I don't know if any of those in particular anybody else is experiencing. But really, it's that supply and demand and that wage increase that is really, again, I think, kind of probably the barometer for what we'll continue to see and go forward.
Great. Thank you so much, Michelle, for that. You know, I'm not above calling people out on this. So Jamie Parsons, any thoughts about what you guys are seeing in the healthcare side? Sorry.
Yeah, from the healthcare side here locally, I mean, we've always had a demand for, you know, staff, and we continue to have that demand. So, you know, we roughly hire about 1,000 people a year, about how many we hire, and we get roughly about 85,000 applications for those 1,000 people that we hire every year. So it's about the same. We've still got about, last I looked, we had about 83,000 applications, and we're still on track to actually hire about 1,500 people, 1,600 people this year, because when we opened up the cancer center, we added a whole bunch of new positions to the organization. We're actually at 10,103 employees now, so we've really jumped up there. But yeah, I would echo what Michelle said as well. We see the climbing rate. I mean, January 1st, we had a 1.5-year progression, and so January 1st, every one of our employees will be at $15 an hour. So that was literally millions and millions of dollars that we had to spend to get all our employees up to $15 an hour. So it's a struggle for us from a financial perspective, because many of y'all know in healthcare, 75% of our revenue comes from Medicaid and Medicare, and we're not like a McDonald's. We can't raise our hamburger 3 cents to pay for the increase. They don't give you any more money, and so you have to figure out where all that money comes from somewhere else. So a little bit challenging in healthcare. I'm on a group that CHROs from across the country, and we meet 4 or 5 times a year. We had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and it's not the same everywhere. There's a lot of healthcare systems across the country that quite honestly are laying people off. St. Neves didn't do that, but there are a lot of my counterparts, unfortunately, that are having to lay people off. So it's very, very different depending on what part of the country you're in. That's all that I would say.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Jamie. Does anybody else have has anyone seen anything different? Right? I mean, not every sector is hiring. I know Lisa Morris and I have talked about this a little bit, that she's continuing to need people. Lisa, any comments from your work? I lost you. Where'd you go? There you are.
Can
Yes.
you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. We're continuing to hire. It's slowed down a little bit. Our retention rate has dropped, because people in this area up and down 42 are not hiring, or they're very slow at hiring where they were very quickly before. So the retention rate here at North American Stainless is dropped as far as our turnover rate. And I comment to Michelle, I haven't seen an increase in wages here, but of course we're talking a lot of industry is what I deal with. And the one thing that's been kind of different is the Walmart, Kroger, the fast food places. I've not seen the signs out front for now hiring. So I think that a lot of people are trying to go back to work in this area. And then, of course, there is some that aren't, of course.
Right. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, John Baines has his hand raised.
Just trying to model good behavior, Tara. No, I will say that there's a lot of current situation, which reminds me of 2008, 2009. A lot of the companies I work with have used this as an opportunity to let go what they would describe as their C players, so people they felt they needed to keep the wheel moving, but have recognized that with the uncertainty of their markets and needing to be proactive, they've let them go and discovered that they haven't really missed too much of a beat there. So that was really a big lessons learned for a lot of employers after the Great Recession. That said, though, I would sort of echo Michelle's comment that people are still looking to fill critical positions and not finding that easy. I will also say there tends to be a lot of talent available at higher level positions. So really qualified people not currently working, looking for that sort of mid-level management and higher positions. So there's sort of a glut in the market on that other spectrum than what we typically talk about. So it's a really interesting, there's no sort of homogeneous way to describe what we're sort of going through right now.
I agree, John. I think there's really two populations that almost need opposite assistance, right? You've got the light industrial, unskilled or you know, volume type positions where we need to help the employers get connected with the people. And then we have the group of professionals that have been displaced that, again, you don't have those volume opportunities for, you know, and we're starting to see even like with, you know, Dave and the accountability group, you know, those are professionals, you know, looking for employment. And I don't know, that maybe part of our strategic plan should be looking at those and how do we, you know, move some of that work forward in those buckets. And then what Lisa was saying is absolutely right. I am seeing a focus on trying to retain. So it's hard to fill, right? We know that supply and demand and the numbers don't match up and people aren't taking work. So we're seeing a lot of creative ways that employers are trying to retain those folks. And it's everything from, you know, bonuses, retention bonuses, attendance bonuses, a lot of, you know, what they used to do when they used to be able to do foods and parties, and that's not something that you can do nowadays. They're having to get really, really creative about how they engage and retain these individuals. And we're doing a lot more of what we would call a talent ambassador. So we, you know, we'll identify somebody in our larger customers that, you know, can be our eyes and ears and be going out and doing some on the spot recognitions or attaboys or just those types of things. Because again, the name of the game becomes retention if you are able to get your positions filled.
That's really interesting, Michelle. And I think it would be, you know, from the standpoint of, I think about, you know, like the SWAT meetings, the Strategic Workforce Action Team, you know, when a lot of the employer roundtable group will go out and I think Lisa Mulcahy's still on this call, you know, and meet individually with employers that are maybe having some sort of workforce issue. You know, those kinds of ideas about retention, I think can be, you know, maybe they're kind of non-scientific, but just in terms of, you know, getting ideas out to other employers would be really helpful. I think the other thing that would be helpful is if any of you have seen sort of either grassroots ways of connecting with job seekers. I mean, certainly the Career Center is going to continue to offer, you know, the drive-through hiring events and the virtual, you know, the advanced manufacturing event later this month and different things. And we're just going to kind of continue to do that like grassroots effort. But in terms of like, if there's any specific way that's really helping with connecting, maybe especially with some of those volume type position, you know, like lots of openings. I think we would love, I'm looking at Ellen, but I think we would love to hear, you know, about those. And we're going to continue to looking across best practices from elsewhere in the country too. I was actually on a call with the Department of Labor. They were asking for input about what technical assistance that we might need as local areas. So Jim BA and I were representing Kentucky, and a lot of the other groups like are just now starting to think about drive-through hiring events. They're just now, you know, in Alabama, maybe doing like virtual hiring events and so forth. And so I think in a lot of ways we're doing it, but we would definitely like to do more. So, Dana, I think we have time for maybe like one or two more comments. If anybody else has anything that they want to share with the group. No? Okay. I would love if you have a moment, you could send me a direct message, you can email me, but I would really like some feedback from all of you about having a minute at least. I mean, it wasn't a long time, but just a few minutes to kind of talk amongst yourselves. If there's other ways that you would like to have virtual interaction, I would really appreciate some of that feedback as we continue to try to make our board meetings more interactive. I did also want to let you all know that Brent Cooper was pulled into another meeting, so he was not able to join, but he wanted to make sure that everybody knew about the annual celebration that will be taking place. I believe it's this Thursday. I'm pretty sure that's the case because I can't go because of jury duty. But I just put in the chat the link in case you wanted to sign on, because if Brent was here, he would have let everybody know about that. And Lisa put the link if you're interested in your company having a SWAT meeting. So that's where all the different workforce partners will come together and meet with your company and talk about, you know, any of your workforce needs. So that link is there as well. I see Janet has her her camera on, and I know the economic outlook is coming soon. I know that I have that on my schedule. So just a quick plug for Janet. Janet, do you have any preview that you can share? We have 3 minutes.
I think the preview I have is that I think the conversation we had this morning is going to be writ large on the economy. We're going to have dueling narratives. We're going to have narratives around people that are really struggling through the pandemic. And we're going to have stories of lots of economic growth. And they're both going to be true.
Okay. Well, thank you, Janet. We look forward to hearing your full presentation coming up soon for the economic outlook. We'll make sure that we will send out that link to everybody. I don't have it on hand, but I'll get it out to the group in case you want to definitely watch for that. Dana, we are finished with the staff component unless you have anything else you would like to add.
No, thanks, Tara. Thanks everyone again for joining. Just as a reminder, our next WIB meeting is January the 12th. So next year, hard to believe, but it's already the end of the year. So in case I don't see or talk to you, have a great Thanksgiving, have a great holiday. Look forward to seeing you all in 2021. And with that, we are adjourned. Thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.